Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Onset Hebrew, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Alright guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to someone else who may like it as well. Also, if you have time, please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that was very interesting. The other day, a woman said to me, she doesn't understand, she's a Scorpio, and she says she doesn't understand why Aquarius are often said to be logical, because she finds Aquarius to be illogical, and she doesn't understand where that comes from. And I said, well, you have to understand something about logic, reason, and philosophy. Logic, reason, and philosophy are three areas, and there are many more, that are really subjective. They're really from the eye of the perceiver, okay? I'll give you an example. When it comes to logical reasoning, two people can come up with two different conclusions to the same question, and both have went through a logical thought process to come to it. Just because you don't agree with somebody's conclusion or with somebody's logic doesn't mean they don't have any or that yours is superior. Think about it like this. I find it to be totally illogical that some people think that there is no God, no goddess, no creator, no supreme being. To me, that is the most illogical thing in the world, because everything is too perfect. I have 2 hands and 10 fingers and the perfect amount of chromosomes and hormones and atoms, and everything is too perfect. The planets and how they revolve and all of this is too perfect for it to have happened by accident. That to me is totally illogical. But at the same time, a person who's an atheist can say, it's totally illogical to me that there will be a God that allowed the world to be like this. If there's a supreme intelligence, why isn't it doing anything about what's going on? Which is a common argument I hear from atheists. Now, I got an answer for that. And no, but I will say it's a very logical argument. So just because I don't agree with the conclusion doesn't mean it's not logical. And the Aquarius is exactly the same way. We're extremely logical thinkers. We do think a lot of things out. The problem is that sometimes we're impulsive and sometimes we move before we totally think something out, but it doesn't mean that we don't think things out. Most of the time we do. Our logic may not match your logic, because remember, the Aquarian is in the future. Our thought processes are always beyond. I remember having an argument with somebody one time, and she was trying to tell me that whatever she was saying, that's just not how things are, Queen. Things do not work like that. And I was like, I'm not talking about today. I said in the future. I said this is a good idea for the future. This is somewhere I can see our species going. Nobody ever said it was today. And she could not make that connection because she couldn't comprehend the future. She was just like, that is not how things are done. That's not where we're at. That's not what's going on. Yeah, that's not what's going on today. But what about in 15 years? And I finally just stopped having the debate with her because she just couldn't get that point. She kept going back to today, and I kept trying to take her to tomorrow. The Aquarius is thinking in the future. So a lot of stuff that we're saying, you probably won't even comprehend, think about, or even care about in a lot of cases until 15, 20 years down the road. The Aquarius is always first. That's why people call us the leader of the pack, because we're always first. We're truth seekers. So we're always the first to come to truths that other people don't know, don't believe, and may never believe in this lifetime. We're the first to come to many of them. So it makes sense to me that some things an Aquarius says may sound crazy because it may have been the first time you ever even heard them before. And you're like, what? Where'd you get that from? You know? So some of the times it's just that. And some of the times, like I said, it's just that neither one of you is right or wrong. Your logic, the way you're reasoning it, is just isn't the same. Aquarius are extremely logical in our thought processes. We think about what's the best way to do something. But like I said before, you also have Aquarius who are, you know, kind of like head in the clouds Aquarius. And even they do think about things, but they just don't always go with their logic. Some of the times they just go with their whim, you know? So you do have some of those things coming across too. Dark Aquarius, they'll think things through. Dark Aquarius actually are usually more calculating than any of the rest of us. Dark Aquarius are the most calculating of the Aquarius. And that's why I tell people not to trust them, because they're very calculating and they're sitting back clicking, and it's not calculating in a way that's going to be good for you. It's something that they're trying to get away with, some ulterior motive, some angle, some caper, some something. But Aquarius are very known for that. And like I said, some people have questioned me like, but what about this? What about that? And I'm like, I'm telling you, just because my logic goes in one direction doesn't mean that my logic isn't right, and it doesn't mean yours isn't either. We could both be right about something, or maybe the answer just hasn't been revealed yet. Like I said, because a lot of stuff with the Aquarius is in the future. So most Aquarius do think in like kind of like this fashion, but we're also very creative at the same time. And I think this is another area that kind of throws people for a loop. Most people who use logic and reasoning don't always have a good balance of logic and creativity. Those two things don't always go together. Sometimes a person is logical, they're reasoning, they like the math, they like science and stuff like that, and their brain is wired in that way, so they're not always the best with art or music or creativity. You see? Whereas somebody who's into creativity might not always be the best with like mathematics or reading or writing or history or things like that. You don't have that problem with many Aquarius. Many Aquarius are good in both areas. Many Aquarius are extremely into the arts on some level, and most of us is usually listening to or creating music, but it's all kinds of other spaces too we get into art. Aquarius have a tendency to like colors and decorating things and stuff like that. So you have that creative side, and then you also have the logical side. And that's another one of those Aquarius contradictions, is that we have both. Many of us can create things, write stories, make poetry, things like that. So it's really cool being an Aquarius in that sense, because you have your foot in both worlds. So you can use your talents and then you can combine them. You know, sometimes, you know, when I was like teaching high school, or sometimes when I'm teaching a class, even now, you can combine that logical reasoning and historical facts and figures with creativity. And when they come together, it's such a beautiful thing, especially with education. You know, it's a beautiful thing when those two can come together and actually work. It's a beautiful thing. So the Aquarius has that ability. So you might not understand what the Aquarius is talking about. You may not believe what the Aquarius is saying. The Aquarius might not even have any proof to even back it up. But I bet you if the Aquarius is intuiting it or they've reasoned it, they're probably on the right track. Now, I'm not saying Aquarius are right all the time, because that would be ridiculous. Nobody's right all the time. But Aquarius do have the tendency to be correct about a lot of our theories, and most of them we usually manage to prove throughout time. I've had a lot of theories and premonitions and things that I said, didn't even know what I was saying, and watched them come true. I remember one time, you know, a friend of mine, we were going to this doctor, and I didn't like the doctor's office. As soon as we walked in, I was like, where did you find this butcher? Okay, that's exactly the words that came out of my mouth. Where did you find this butcher? And my friend was like, oh, don't say that. You know, like you're such a bitch. You know, like, don't say that. And I was just like, something about this place is not cool, okay? Now, mind you, she thought I was crazy for making this statement. This statement has no logic to it. Fast forward about 15 years later, that doctor was arrested and very publicly humiliated because it was found out that he was doing illegal abortions. And what did the headline say? Butcher in Philadelphia. That was the headline. And any of you that live in Philadelphia or heard about this case, you probably remember the headline too. It said Butcher in Philadelphia. And I was sitting there like, wow, that's exactly what I said 15 years ago, not even knowing what I had just walked into. So Aquarius have this eerie knack for doing stuff like that, for just knowing. And everybody else thinking it's crazy and illogical, but we on point. Not every time. I'm not going to tell you we're perfect, but I'm going to tell you most of the time we're on point. We might not even know how we know what we just said, but a lot of times we're on point. So that's the thing about the Aquarian logic. Everybody's not going to understand it, and some of the times it takes a little while to be proven. But the bottom line is that if you have an Aquarius in your life and you trust them and they tell you something, you know, just kind of go with it because they're probably right anyway. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to have a reading done, please email me and I'll give you an appointment. And come back soon because I have so much more to say. See you later.